Hello and welcome to the St Kilda and Bayside TV. I'm Jeremy Rosens and I'm here with Philip Kingston sitting in for Gary Peer. It's good to have you.
Do you know, it's good to be here, Jeremy, and I don't know why I don't get invited more often. I mean, where was the deal
it's not that you don't
you
get
would always
invited.
Do it with Gary?
Well, you know, his name is just plastered all over the boards everywhere, so we thought we'd give him a Guernsey.
Let's face it, he's not really front of house.
No, and it's not through lack of effort that we don't get you down here, Phil, but you're a busy man.
I am, but not too busy to get involved, Jem. Happy to be here.
Exciting episode here, Phil, because we've got
Yes.
a very, very, very special guest coming in shortly to talk about not only where we are right now, Phil,
Yep.
but a little bit about St Kilda and Bayside, some
He is a
interesting
man
stuff.
with a wealth of knowledge. He
Indeed.
is a man that probably is one of, in fact, I would say he is one of maybe 20 or 30 people that are responsible for the renaissance of Melbourne architecture and suburbs when it comes to medium density.
I did see your eyes light up when
there's
you
a
walked
big guy.
in.
There's a big guy that's coming in.
Yeah,
and
a
it's
big
great
player
to
in
have
the
him.
property world,
Yeah.
big in real estate.
Yeah, but a guy that really understands how to live. So it'll be an interesting interview. So stay tuned. Tell me what's been going on in the hood.
Well, Phil, we're keeping on with this interview theme because
Yeah.
last month when we filmed the St Kilda report with Gary,
Yeah.
you were unavailable at that stage. We actually filmed it with one of the biggest guys that we'll have on the St Kilda report, a gentleman by the name of Sam Fisher.
Didn't watch that show. I must
Well, you've got
start
to go
tuning
back.
in. I must
So
start
he's
tuning
about
in.
8 feet tall
Yeah.
and about 6 foot wide and dwarfed me and Gary.
Plays for St Kilda, and he's not one of the biggest guys out on the ground
No,
either.
but he's a big unit.
Yeah,
Lovely guy.
You know, it's not until you sit with an AFL footballer do you realise how puny you are.
Do you think that he's telling the guys at St Kilda, you know, I did this St Kilda report with these guys from Gary Peer. Great guys. Big real estate agents.
Big real estate agents.
Big real estate
Big in
agents.
the area. St Kilda, let's move on from football. But
You know, we sold
having
his
said that-
apartment. We sold his apartment
Yep.
at 89 Fitzroy Street for $430,000.
Yes.
Passed in at auction, but sold swiftly after.
Tell me, is he trading up, down, sideways?
That was
What's
an
the plan?
investment property for him. He actually
Yep.
lives a bit further down the Bayside, down in Beaumaris.
And tell me, do you have a personal relationship with him?
Well, I do now.
How did that all come about?
I've got a personal relationship with his manager, and as a result of that, we've sort of connected that way.
And a bit of trivia, viewers, footballers, young footballers
Yes.
are great property people because as I understand it, you know, you get these 18 to 22-year-olds that are earning pretty big money. They come through the system and their management tries to direct them to buy real estate because they know if they don't put them into something, party mode will just
Yeah, well, they're young.
see the money disappear.
They're young
Well,
guys.
you love
and
their
they're-
life.
They have a lot of fun, although they work pretty hard.
Okay,
They do
this is
work
not
hard.
the footy show.
This is not. So let's talk about a few other places that we did sell in the last month.
What have you got in mind?
Apartment 5, number 60, Goulet Street. Michael Jonas from the St Kilda office sold that prior to auction. Sold for $460, 3 days out or 2 days out from the auction.
Yep. Can I make a
which is
point
good
about
result
Goulet
there.
Street?
You can.
Viewers, if you're looking for an area to invest in real estate and you want a 1 or a 2 bedroom apartment, I'm really loving that block of Hotham Street.
Yep.
We've got Glen Ira Village at one end, we've got Carlisle Street at the other, and kind of the railway line.
Chapel Street also.
Yeah, so all of those streets that come off Hotham, so you've got Sycamore,
Goulet, the Avenue, Grosvenor. Yeah.
Those streets. Great little pocket because it satisfies all the things we look for investing in apartments, which is shops, public transport.
Yeah, and a great strip shopping little area there in
The
Ballaclara.
Glen Ira Village.
Yeah, where Los Chicas is, who we
Yep.
have a good
No,
affinity
that's Carlisle Street, the Glen Ira Village though. Where,
sorry, I was going the other way.
Where, what's that famous restaurant?
Gattaca.
Gattaca.
Or Attica.
Attica.
Top 100 restaurants in the world, Phil.
Incredible. Have you ever been?
Never.
I think, you know, maybe we should have a partners night there where we, you know, put it
I
all
don't know
on the
about
St
an 80
Kilda
course.
offers.
Yeah, good luck. Who's partner? Yeah, I'll just come on my own. Adam Josky and Joel Sir, I believe, sold that for an undisclosed amount, but I don't mind saying, Phil, a huge auction, massive numbers through the door, and a result that well exceeded anyone's expectations.
Fabulous. What sort of house was it?
It was a 3-bedroom, single-fronted brick Edwardian, and as you say, Phil, a pretty picture postcard facade.
I don't say that. I say picture postcard
just go with
perfect
that.
facade.
Okay, well, you're going to change what
You
you
did
say.
invite me on the show, so I will stand corrected.
And if we could just rewind for a moment as to why you are not invited on the show, I think you've just answered your own question.
Might be another couple of months, viewers, before you see me.
7 day, Elmer Road, Phil, just up the top there at Elmer Road where it meets Barclay Street.
Yep.
Ben Rothschild had a lovely one-bedroom, which he also sold before auction again for the same result as Goulay Street at $460,000 there, which was a great result. And a shout out to Ben and the vendors there, who were both lovely people.
And check out, we're talking about that high end of Elmer Road near Barclay Street.
The St Kilda Hill.
Check out the development now on the St Kilda Hill. So you've got now 3 major towers there.
4.
And I believe another 2 or 3 are planned. So a little activity zone is going to develop there, that little strip of St Kilda Road where it becomes Brighton Road. That's going to be an
It's going to change. Centre. The landscape will certainly change.
And I'm loving it. Art galleries, cafes.
It's a very cool little place.
Yeah.
It's changing a lot, which is a good thing for the St Kilda residents.
It is.
Balaclava Road, 38 at 53. Now, we showed this last month. This is a company share block, Phil. And the most stunningly renovated, architecturally designed apartment.
I saw that online. I thought it was seriously schmick.
And I'm not sure whether this gentleman's going to watch the show. He said he does, but it was actually Mother's Day when we did the auction. And
what a present.
And well, he didn't buy it, but he was at the auction. Okay. And I said Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers at the beginning of the auction. And he was just over yonder, and he went and kissed his wife on the lips and wished her Happy Mother's Day. And I stopped, and we all stopped, and it turns out that it was her birthday, and we all sang Happy Birthday to her. It was a really lovely moment, so I want to wish her a happy birthday. I don't know whether she's watching or not, but happy birthday to her. And it was a lovely moment.
You know what? The joy of auctions is it's street theatre. It's all unscripted. You never know what's going to unfold in front of you, and that is a lovely moment. So tell me, just on that, company share, more difficult to sell, less difficult?
Look, it's probably changed a little bit with the stamp duty regulations, where now you do have to pay full stamp duty.
Where once upon a time you didn't pay stamp duty on the purchase price.
Correct.
But it was on some of
the transfer of the share. So I think the difficulty is not so much what you need to be aware of. It's more the fact that when you buy it, I think you're probably buying at a slightly discounted rate.
Because it's not as easy to get finance? Is
correct,
that the reason?
Although it's probably...
Changed a lot?
It's changed. The landscape's changed. It's not quite as hard as what it used to be. Although there are less banks than the smorgasbord you have.
Okay, so you'd still advise a friend or an investor, take them seriously, have a look, because you'll get them marginally cheaper just because of that title.
I think so, yes.
Okay, great.
So that wraps up a number of the sales that we talked about last month, and I am acknowledging the fact that we've got a bit of time pressure here, because we do have an interview coming up shortly, Phil, but we do need to talk.
It'll be a long interview too.
It will, because you and him like to talk, because you do like him.
I like to chew the fat.
You do, but we are here where we are right now, and we do need to talk about it, Phil.
Yes, okay. Do you want me to talk about it, given the fact I have a passion
I should
for the
talk about the address. I should talk about that we are at apartment 4 at 91 Wellington Street in the heart of St Kilda. We are here, and it does go to auction on the 30th of July at 11:30 a.m. and thankfully I have the privilege and pleasure to conduct the auction here, Phil.
Well, power to you, Jeremy. Let's talk about the building, but before we do so, let's talk about the location of Wellington Street.
Yes.
Because I think this is also emerging as a very sought-after little residential precinct. A lot of new buildings happening here, which means there's a lot more commercial activity, a lot of restaurant activity, but you can literally turn over the bridge, which is the Upton Road Bridge, and be in the heart of Paran in a moment. So it's really St Kilda and it's Paran rolled up into one.
And the Windsor end of Chapel Street, which is the cool end of Chapel Street.
Here we're in this Neo Metro designed and constructed building, and I love their boutique developments because it's large enough to have a sense of scale, but it's small enough to have a sense of community. Gorgeous, cutting edge, timeless architecture, and they really have developed the ability to put maximum usability into smaller apartments. So whilst we're in a 1-bedroom apartment, it's got the generosity and feeling of a 2-bedroom apartment. All the room sizes are great. I love the use, of course, of their signature, which is polished concrete, the concrete floors, the concrete ceilings. But this building has done well from the moment they built it 10 years ago to today. So I reckon this is a timeless buy for somebody looking for a home or an investment.
Absolutely. I concur, Phil. I can't even add to that because I think you've summed it up perfectly.
Thank you.
In fact, we should sub you off the bench, and maybe you should do the auction with that little summary, or if I could just replay this and steal some of those lines for the auction.
Steal my material, I don't mind.
I will.
Goodness knows I stole it from somebody else.
Yes, indeed. R&D, rip off and duplicate, and you do it better than most.
Thank you.
27 Nepean Highway, Nikki Janova has the pleasure of not auctioning it, but selling this lovely 3-bedroom double story, very Art Deco.
Good looking property.
Very cool, this one. 950 to $1,050,000. It's going to go well. You've got auction honours there.
The honours.
25th of the 6th at 12:30.
Great location there
This
too.
one's a ripper. This one is a ripper.
You've got Glen Huntly Road, Elstonwick, and you've got the beach on the other side.
Beautiful
and a golf
property.
course.
Beautiful property.
Yep.
9 at 20 Tennyson Street in St Kilda. I'm going to be back in this block again. I was lucky enough to sell the last one for Leon, and again I'll be doing it again. 620 to 680. 2-bed, 2-bath, 1 car. 1:30 p.m. That auction goes up on the 26th of June, and certainly looking forward to that one, Phil. Again at 4 at 25 Mayfield Street. Now this is a very cool town. It's a very good location here in Mayfield Street, just off Hotham Street, in that little triangle that you talked about off Hotham Street.
Sure.
A stone's throw from both Glenara Village and also from Carlisle Street.
And the Green Meadows Park, which is a bit of a secret. If you don't know it, you don't know it. But Green Meadows Park is a spectacular little community park.
Yep, 26th of June. That's going up at 11:30. 3-bed, 2-bath, and double lock-up garage there. Michael Jonas got auction honours there, so that'll be a good one.
Yep, great.
And just a stone's throw from where we are up the road in Redan Street, apartment 2, number 6, Redan Street, 2-bed, 1-bath. 390 plus here, Phil. This is good buying here for an investor.
It's in this little hood, and it's great. Walking distance to shops and public transport.
Yep, 9th of July, 11:30. I'll be auctioning that home, and very much looking forward to it.
So great wrap of properties. Obviously a lot of activity going on.
Certainly.
But let's get down to the interview section of the show, which is a bit of my favourite, and I'm looking forward to introducing this guy, but we won't. Let's get him sat at the table.
Let's bring him in.
Bring him in. So great to have you on the show, Jeff. And for those viewers that are watching that don't recognise the face of this man, is Jeff Proven, the driving force and one of the originators of Neo Metro, which in its early days was an architecture, design and building firm. Where are we up to these days?
Oh, look, we're mainly doing developments. We do our own construction. We very much collaborate on design these days. The design is not so much our house. We've found that the market's changed and we need to collaborate with architects who are specialising in, whether you're working in South Yarra or Paran or Windsor or Brunswick. So you really have to work with the right architects and designers.
So on that though, if we go back and rewind the years for you, back in the early 80s, I think Neo Metro came of age. And I first remember seeing your design for the first time in a laneway I think it was off Church Street in Richmond. And I fell in love with the style of architecture. But just give us a brief summation of the career.
Oh, look, I think we started then and we were really buying up the sites that no one else wanted, where we thought we could add some value in terms of design.
Yep.
So that was the main purpose for buying these. We really couldn't afford the mainstream sites, and we developed a product around these sort of back streets, railway lines, laneways, corner sites, very difficult sites, and we applied our design skills to those to sort of maximise the amenity and maximise the value and the end product. And I think where we sit today in that arena is that we've been able to take in those design skills that we honed in creating amenity to take them into more larger scale projects and still not lose the amenity quality, which is what our lifestyle's about. And in this business now, there's sort of various buzzwords around. It's not just about design, architecture. It's about placemaking. Getting the right people into the building. It's about high density happiness, and that sort of stems from how do people live in these apartments. They're not just designed for a speculative investor. They have to be designed for an end user.
Can I pull you up there, because there's a lot of press going on in Melbourne, in fact Australia, about the glut of apartments coming. And I spent a bit of time in the CBD of Melbourne, and there is so much, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's so much shit stock out there of stuff that is unlivable. Now that's clearly not the area that Neo Metro goes to. I see your stuff as boutique. I see it as this lovely product that might be the same size as the general dross, but it's got high livability, it's got high design, it's the sort of properties you walk into and everything feels right. And we're sitting in a development now in Wellington Street, which is, how old is this development now, Jeremy?
Well, you best ask Jeff.
Well,
It's
of course.
It's 10 years old.
10 years.
Yeah.
So I walked in here a few minutes ago, and the only thing that I thought dated was the toilet pan. Right? I looked at the toilet pan and I thought, okay, that's clearly a 10-year-old toilet. But everything else just seems so timeless.
And myself as dated a little bit.
The patina on your
still
face.
timeless though.
Yeah, and I think, this particular, development, which is small scale and really embeds the qualities that we don't differ from too much today, and then we might be using slightly different finishes, but there's this sort of, je ne sais quoi, this sort of feeling of the sixth sense that you put in your apartment. And what is that? I don't kind of know, but I know it's a whole lot of little bits that add up to it. And it's, it is design, it's the architecture, it's the interiors, it's the how much light's in it, how much sound quality in it. So there's all these little add-on bits that all of a sudden meets a certain level, and we can kind of get it in a home that people design for a specific person. But when you're in an environment like this, you're speculating, where we're cost driven, where all of those things, you've still got to keep that amenity and that essence, and that's what really lacks in the majority of apartments today, and we even see some of the better designed architecture around town, which looks great, and what's its longevity like? What's it going to be like in 30 years? Now, we've been doing this for 30 years now, and 30 years is not a long time in the life of a building. It's about a third of its life. If it's looking sad in 10 years, what's it going to be like looking in 30 years?
So you used a French phrase there which had a mystified look on Jeremy's face, because
not at all.
French and his understanding.
I think you're underplaying that, Phil.
But let's use the French analogy for a moment and go to Paris, right? So you go to Paris, and apartment living is hundreds of years old, and you've got these lovely buildings that are generally boutique in nature. There's kind of 4 floors, 5 floors, and these apartments seem to just stand the test of time. They wear beautifully. So are you saying kind of the DNA of what you're trying to achieve is this longevity of usefulness and ability to walk in and feel comfortable, whether it's 5, 10 or 20 years down the track?
Absolutely, and there's a whole lot of other issues that come to mind, and we're all kind of trying to be more sustainable. So whilst we have to meet certain guidelines for energy use and all of that, but there's a bigger underlying equation here, I think, and as if you're putting a cheap kitchen in and it's got to be pulled out and it's landfill in 5 years, how sustainable is that? So you've got to really draw a line at where you're prepared to minimise keep the quality at, not go over the top. And again, we see lots of buildings that get maybe great architecture, but if they get value managed down, which is the VM term in the industry, and hence they get shortcut on a lot of fronts by builders and developers. So you have to really manage that process so you can really deliver a fine quality product. And where our product diversifies now, and we're in a landscape of offering it to more people because the demand is out there, and we feel we owe that, and we also want to be able to offer it to a wider cross-section of people instead of the elite.
Speaking of that, do you think the average person is becoming more design savvy?
Oh, totally. I mean, with the social media, our worldly place now, people have got constantly bombarded with images, they're understanding, and also we've got a generation, millennium kids, who are, and that's your kids, who maybe realise that an apartment is how they're going to live the rest of their life. A house may not be an option for affordability, or it may not be an option for lifestyle. I grew up, you rented an apartment before you bought a house, and the next generations have gone, and now apartment living is the way forward. And also we're seeing people in my age group, baby boomers, who are now sort of downscaling or going back to apartments. So we have to meet quite a cross section. So we're on a good threshold of this new idea that the apartment is no longer an investment thing, it's just there for temporary, it's now a much more permanent part of our landscape.
Yeah, and speaking of the landscape, you've recently returned to living in the Bayside, and this is the Bayside Report, so I just want to you've done a lot of work in St Kilda, You've recently moved out of one of Melbourne's most boring suburbs and come back to the hood of Bayside. We won't talk about Toorak, but you're back in the Bayside area. Your office is still in Inkerman Street, I think?
Yeah, we still love St Kilda, and I think St Kilda goes through a few phases, and it's now, and I think I start to see a little bit more energy come back into this part of town, and we're seeing some newer developments and some greater ideas, and it is such a great space to be. So, and this building here at 91 Wellington Street was what we did 10 years ago. Small, it's got all the qualities and accessibility.
Yeah. And the cafe downstairs is always a great community binder. Have you? I think you've worked cafes into a lot of your developments in recent years.
Yeah, look, and really, that comes from, I travel a lot to Japan, and where the cafe becomes your community space, becomes your space where you meet your friends. So it's very important to have that activity within the building if you can. And it also creates a friendly environment. It's a really nice thing to come home and see people instead of looking at an entry to a car park and it adds security, and that comes into that notion of placemaking that we're talking about.
And now, on just a very personal basis, before we get you to exit the show, as a Bayside resident and a keen cyclist, Jeff, you're a man that gets around in Lycra on a regular basis.
That was going to be my question. You've stolen my thunder.
Sorry about that. Favourite cafe for coffee in the Bayside area?
Oh, look, that's a difficult one, and there's heaps of places around this area now, and 10 years ago there was
actually get in trouble for answering this though, so you've got to be careful here.
10 years ago it was maybe a struggle. Now, most cafes are doing good.
We can't pin you down on where your favourite cafe is.
No, I move around a bit.
Do
you like Harper's Kitchen at all? I think they do a good coffee there.
Yeah. And that's in another one of our projects.
Not a bad project.
Aside from Harper's Kitchen, when you're eating out, got a favourite restaurant?
We've been giving DOC a bit of a nudge in Albert Park and also Mount Martha. So great Italian food, and love the whole ambience of the place.
Did you get to D'Estasio in Fitzroy Street?
When I want to be abused and spoken to badly, I love D'Estasio. It's one of those great venues.
Not quite sure whether we're going to edit this out of the show yet or not, but it's a great place.
I also run the Instagram account, which is Open Journal at Neo Metro, and I put up Ronnie and his place as one of those Melbourne icons. Not many places in a place like Melbourne have that kind of statue and that presence for and in the one business for such a long time. So that's an absolute credit, and you go there and it's it's still happening.
Still pumping it out.
Yep, absolutely.
And tell me, any plans on doing any development Bayside over the next 12 months?
Oh, look, we're always on the lookout. We've gone a little bit north side at the moment. We see some opportunities over there, but we're also always looking around. We're still based in St Kilda, and we're looking at something not too far from here in Windsor. Secret School.
Stay tuned, viewers. Hopefully Gary Peer and Associates will get that listing. Jeff, great to have you on the show. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Well, that's a wrap, Phil. What an interesting character, Jeff.
He's an amazing guy. He really is an amazing guy. A guy with a lot of hobbies, a lot of understanding of real estate, architecture, design, and general urban living. He's a man that travels many, many continents in search of inspiration.
Could have listened to him for hours. God knows I didn't say anything, so I couldn't have done much more than listen. But an interesting guy.
Well, you were sitting at the table. You're not the shy, retiring type. But I must say, I did look over there, and you were so quiet.
I do want to say to my mother, you did say you made a comment about my lack of French understanding, and she will be mortified at that statement because I grew up on French. Because don't forget, she's full French speaking, my mother. So
do you speak any
French? I speak as close to fluent. I'm not going to say.
So would it be fair to say that your French is un petit peu?
No, c'est pas possible. Anyway, Mum.
That's a wrap, I think.
All the best.
And a shout out to Jem's mum. I hope you're watching. Thanks for watching GPTV Bayside Edition.
See you next time.